All right, ladies and gents. The PlayStation 5 reveal event just finished here on June 11th, 2020. I have a lot to say. In particular, I think this was actually pretty cool because for an hour before the event, myself and my stream viewers speculated about what we were going to see. And then when the event finally happened, we were like, oh, this happened, this didn't happen, okay? So what I like to do is go step by step through the recap of the entire event, giving you my opinions on everything. And at the end, what we're going to do is go through my predictions that I had for the event and see how dead on we were correct and how way off we were. Because in some cases, we were super duper correct, and in some places, we were wrong. I'm being yelled at because I didn't put on the vest. I'm being yelled at. Screamed at. All right. Fair enough. You guys were supportive earlier. You earned the vest, so I put the vest on. Sorry. Okay. Ross Prey has subscribed for 21 months. Just keep up the good work during lockdown. Xbox One owner. Thinking about getting the next PS5. So looking forward to this. All right, get ready. Here we go. So the show opened up with a montage of a bunch of things that Sony has done over the last 20 to 25 years, including all kinds of game franchises. Infamous was in there and all kinds of stuff. The show opens up, of all things, the last possible game I ever thought they would open up a PlayStation 5 press conference with. Grand Theft Auto 5. Again? Yes, again. They're selling it again. And I had joked about this, that they were going to port it to PS5 as a joke. Again. They're selling it. Yes, in 2021, Grand Theft Auto 5 will release on PlayStation 4. Enhanced and expanded, sure. I'm sure they're going to add tons of new content to the story that they never added a real DLC to because they had to fucking keep putting shit into GTA Online. Then they announced that GTA Online will be free for everyone. You don't even have to buy GTA 5. Grand Theft Auto Online will be free for everyone who owns a PS5 at launch. Because they don't make money on it, they make money on the microtransactions, so that makes sense. They also announced if you own a PlayStation 4, you will get $1 million in cash in Grand Theft Auto Online every single month now until the launch of PlayStation 5. Probably a last hurrah when you think about it for the PlayStation 4 version of GTA Online because they expect everyone's going to be moving over to PlayStation 5. Obviously non-event for me. I don't give a shit about GTA Online, but GTA Online has been the one biggest moneymaker in the history of gaming for Rockstar. So they're obviously going to milk the living fuck out of that game, and they've decided to do it again on PlayStation 5. Delightful. All right. So then they announced, well, it said, by the way, there was no stage presentation for this event at all. It was just all digital, people talking to a camera. That was it. It was no stage presentation or anything. I mean, what were they going to do, an empty arena? Probably wouldn't make sense. So they say, all footage you see is actual PlayStation 5 footage. Everything you see here is running on a PlayStation 5. None of this is simulated on another device. It's all running on a PS5. The first game they showed off was Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales. It's actually just called Spider-Man Miles Morales. We knew this was going to happen. Anyone who had played the original Spider-Man game 2 years ago, it ended with Miles kind of taking up the Spider-Man mantle. We knew that was going to happen. So it looks pretty good, although they don't show much, if any, gameplay, just a very little bit. And it basically says Holiday 2020. So, wow, that's actually a good way, in my opinion, to start it off. Because, okay, a game we were all looking forward to, a game that we know is probably going to be very good, and it's coming out for Holiday, the launch of the PS5. It'll be around right around the launch of PS5. So that's a big thumbs up. Okay. Up next, we knew there would be a driving game presented. It's Gran Turismo 7. Now, I didn't know what it was going to be, but Gran Turismo is the Sony exclusive franchise, and they did it again, and they showed some driving. And I'm the last person to really comment about Gran Turismo gameplay because I don't play them. I don't care about driving sims, so probably I would not know if it was good or not. But Gran Turismo 7, woohoo! But no release date for that. We don't know when it's coming out. Ratchet and Clank, holy shit. Now this, was one of the things I thought was not going to happen. Ratchet and Clank is being basically rejuvenated for the PlayStation 5 after the failure of the Ratchet and Clank reboot and the Ratchet and Clank movie. I'm incredibly surprised they put this much money into a new game, but this game is called Ratchet and Clank, fuck. It's called Ratchet and Clank fuck. No, it's called Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart. And it looks great. It's got all this interdimensional stuff where basically all the dimensions are tearing into each other. So you've got a seafaring dimension with a kraken and pirates that's interfering with the modern Ratchet and Clank society of like futuristic animals and robots, and then you've got fantasy stuff going on. It's all this crazy stuff all kind of like imploding in on itself, and it shows that Ratchet can now use these special abilities to like change reality. He can pull things towards him and warp reality. Plus he's got all the cool guns that he used to have. It looks really good. In my opinion, it looked great. The gameplay they showed was great. And then they showed there will be alternate dimensions and storylines. Like, for example, Clank gets sucked into another dimension. And in that dimension, there's a version of Ratchet that's not Ratchet. It's a female Wombat. Or was it Wombax? Who apparently is not called that. And so there's alternate dimensions versions of them that you're going to have in the game, too. In my opinion, this blew me away. I didn't expect it. I didn't think we'd see Ratchet and Clank ever again. It actually looks like a cool rejuvenation of the franchise. And for me, this is going to be like the Knack of PlayStation 5. You remember, Knack was the launch title for PS4 that was a platformer for kids and everything and showed off the technology. I think that this Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart will be the game that will show that off for a platformer for kids on PS5. The only problem, no release date. If they had said launch title for PS5, I would have been like, damn, that's going to sell consoles. No release date. So because of that, we don't know when it's coming out. Okay. Another game called Project Althea or Athea. It basically is a girl who has these powers. She's using like vines come out of the ground to attack monsters. It looks like it's a fantasy setting, but it's a girl with powers. It's a Square Enix game. PlayStation 5 exclusive, no date. And it was only like literally like 40 seconds. So you didn't get much out of it at all. No release date. Alright, up next, a game where it shows kind of like a futuristic, almost like apocalyptic society where humans are gone. And it says, rest in peace humans, written on a wall. It's all humanoid robots walking around. It shows what would have been like a barbershop for humans. Instead, it shows the barber as a robot tuning up a robot's head inside of it. So it's kind of like all humans have been replaced by robots somehow, yet there's a cat, an actual, domestic cat walking through the street with like some kind of a harness and maybe a camera or something on it. And the cat jumps up on top, says meow, and then it says, Stray, coming in 2021. Alright, I don't know what that is. Then they start talking a little bit about the specs of the PS5. 4K Ultra Blu-ray, super high-speed SSD, ray tracing, haptic feedback in the controller, adaptive triggers, built-in microphone, built-in speakers, all built into the mic, and a headphone jack built into the mic. Now, does that mean, with a built-in headphone jack, does that mean that the standalone receiver units that have been needed for surround sound and good high-quality headsets for previous consoles are no longer needed, and this... I unplugged it. And this means that basically you will just buy any headphones you could plug into it, and you're going to get full 3D audio? Maybe. I don't know if that's what they're getting at with it or not. I guess we're going to find out when we get more information about that closer to release. But I think that's what they were kind of hinting at, that you no longer need the ginormous amount of equipment to have good audio anymore. And they said 3D audio. They're really pushing the whole 3D audio thing. That if you just have stereo headphones, you're still going to have 3D style audio. You don't need to have like surround sound headphones or anything like that. Okay. The next game was called Returnal. I wish I could tell you what it was, but I have no fucking clue. It kind of looked like a horror game or a thriller game, but it wasn't clear what on earth you were looking at, and no release date. Okay. There's a new Little Big Planet game, but it's not Little Big Planet. It's called Sackboy: The Big Adventure, and it's going to be a 4-player co-op platformer in the spirit of Little Big Planet, but it actually appears to be more 3D oriented rather than just being morely 2D side scroller. There's a lot of 3D platforming like Mario games. I've been wondering what the hell happened to Sackboy. There hasn't been a Little Big Planet game in a ridiculously long time, and so they're finally going to have one for PS5. Only there's no release date. Alright, so I'm just going to... This is page 1 of my 4 pages of notes for the PS5 event. So far, only 1, 2, 3 games got release dates that we've mentioned so far. Are you starting to see a pattern? I hope so. Alright, let's continue. So up next, it's a game where it looks like characters from Fortnite are driving vehicles, and it almost looks like Rocket League. Only these vehicles are also using weapons, but then it looks like you can get out of your vehicle, and now it looks like you're playing Fortnite, and you can fight the other people hand-to-hand. So it's kind of unclear what this game is going to be. It's called Destruction All-Stars. They're definitely 1,000,000%. They are trying to go for Fortnite. The characters look like they're ripped out of Fortnite, okay? But it's got no release date. Okay, now there's another game that looks like some kind of an indie platformer style game. It looks like it's a combination of Pikmin, because there's a girl who can control these little creatures. It's unclear what they are. These little cutesy creatures that are like gray or black and furry. But there's also platforming in it, but there's also combat, where it looks like she's using a staff to attack big monsters and stuff in a forest. It's called Kena Bridge of Spirits. And I would say, I don't know. It looked like it was definitely unfinished, but for early gameplay, it looked like it could be interesting. And it's got no release date. Continuing on. There's a game that looks like everyone's in high school, except they're all furry creatures. Dragons, furry animals, etc. And it's a girl basically saying, oh, I gotta do something with my life. It's time to make a change. It's time to take the leap. It's time to do this. And all you gotta do is take a chance. So it's all ambiguous crap that makes no sense. Definitely remind me of like a Life is Strange vibe. Then it showed them playing in like an indie band. I was like, this is definitely Life is Strange with furries in it. And it's called Goodbye Volcano High. That one's coming out in 2021. If anyone's interested. Life is furry, someone just said. There you go. This was kind of a surprise. Oddworld is coming back. I thought Oddworld games were over with. Oddworld is coming back with a brand new game called Soulstorm. It's a direct sequel from the Oddworld games that have come out from now. Abe is still in charge of his race of people who had been slaves, and he broke them out of the evil corporation, and now he's in charge of basically giving them a new life. But I guess for some reason he's going back to this corporate area to try to destroy stuff, because it shows him controlling them and leading them and doing platforming stuff just like the old Oddworld games. So it looks pretty interesting to me. It's got no release date. Okay. Shinji Mikami comes on screen to talk about his new game, Ghost World Tokyo, which we had known about because he had originally presented this at first last year at E3. And he says it's basically going to be a combination, as we saw last year, of survival horror, but also action. It's like action horror. So don't expect it to be full survival horror a la like old school Resident Evil or anything like that. But what really threw me for a loop, the game's combat is first person. And it shows all these crazy looking ghosts and monsters coming at you in first person. You're using these abilities, not guns, but like supernatural abilities to combat the ghosts and monsters. And this is not what they showed last year. If you actually go back to E3 2019 footage, it almost looked like it was going to be like a third-person shooter game or action game where you'd be fighting with guns or weapons against the ghosts. And it looks like they've completely scrapped that idea and gone to a first-person perspective. So it looks interesting and it actually looks unique. But someone just said something, Cookie Monster just said something that really is worrying me. What if the reason they did that is because it's VR? I hope not. And they haven't said that, or they haven't alluded to that yet. But I am nervous that the reason that they made the jump to first person is because they're trying to push it as a VR game, and I really hope not. I want this to be a mainstream, horror style game. I don't want this to be only PSVR. You get a fucking headache playing it. So I really, really hope not. But at the same time, I like Shinji Mikami games, so I'm hoping for the best, and I hope it turns out well. I definitely like the art style of the game being set in Tokyo and everything. Okay. There's a game, I have no idea what it is. It says basically there's like a people on a planet who I guess they've had a rough time, and now you have to guide their coming back, their resurgence from, it looks like they've been destroyed or destruction, and now their civilization's coming back, and you're in charge of that. And the name of the game is Jet the Far Shore. Coming out holiday 2020. It basically looks like indie game stuff that I have no idea what it's going to be, and I'm not really interested in it, but so you can check that out if you want. Gearbox Software making a new game, because Gearbox has had a really great year so far in the press, as you guys know. Randy Pitchford. Godfall. Now, I honestly, up to now, I'll be honest with you guys, I had not seen any gameplay of the game. I'd seen some stills of it. I'd never seen any of it. What this game looks to me, I'm going to be very honest with all of you. You could completely disagree. Godfall, to me, looks like Rise 2020. It looks like a game that's going to show off the graphical capabilities of the PS4. Every character is metallic and looks like a god, but only a metallic version of that god. And it looks like a third-person combat game where you mash buttons to do combos and stuff. It doesn't look very good to me. It doesn't look polished. it looks like it's a very primitive, basic game. Nothing that they showed was like, oh wow, look at these amazing combat and free-flowing. It just looked like basic 3-hit combo, special ability, combo, special ability. And it showed a few different cinematics and enemies and stuff. It doesn't look good. And this reminds me exactly how Rise looked. Oh my god, on paper, the game looks amazing. The next-gen capabilities of the Xbox One, and you buy it, and it's like, block, combo, and it's a 4-hour game. And this game is actually going to be one of the launch titles for PS5. Of all the games that they showed, this was one of the least impressive games that I saw at the entire press conference, and I was left kind of saying, I honestly don't know if I want to get this one. Like, this kind of looks shitty. It looks repetitive, boring, and shitty, and only going to show off graphics like Rise did. So I don't know about that. Okay? Continuing on. Another artsy indie game called Solar Ash, where you're a character that's completely cel-shaded, gets sucked into some kind of dimensional rift, and there's some kind of combat, but really all it shows is you running for 10 seconds. That comes out in 2021 if you're interested. Alright. The next one actually did interest me. Hitman 3. That's right. So the next game from Square Enix in the Hitman Trilogy, and they actually announced formally there is a trilogy of games. This will be the end of the plot line from the first 2 Hitman games that still haven't had a resolution. There will actually be a resolution in Hitman 3. Really all they stated was that there will be a stage in Dubai, and they show you climbing the giant skyscrapers that they have in Dubai and sneaking in and trying to do assassinations. And that game is coming out January 2021, so just after the release window of the console, but at least relatively within the first few months of the console's launch. So that looks pretty good to me. And no word whatsoever of it being episodic, which makes me believe it's going to be a full-fledged game just like Hitman 2 was, which is a good thing. We don't want another episodic title. We want a game that's full-fledged out 100% that you can play. Okay? So, alright, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you remember the PlayStation Playroom? Anyone remember that? You might not remember it. It was actually a launch feature of the PlayStation 4. Because if you remember the PlayStation 4, if you bought the PlayStation camera peripheral, it had features with that camera. And one of the things was that it would actually record you sitting down wherever you were, and you had virtual little robots that would run in front of you, like altered reality. Is that what they call it? I can't exactly remember what they call it. But it's basically, it shows you in reality, but there's things in there you can interact with. And so I remember when it came out, I messed around with this, slapping the robots around and doing weird stuff with these robots. I think I did it for a total of like 30 minutes, and I never ever did it ever again. There's no reason to do it. Now, in reality, if you haven't heard of PlayStation Showroom, it's probably because they shut it down. You want to know why? Because sick people did disgusting things in it, like get naked and have sex and just gross shit, and posted it on the internet, and Sony was like, well, this is not what we intended, so we're removing the whole thing from everyone's PlayStation 4 consoles, and it never came back. Okay? Anyway, the reason I'm going on a crazy tangent is because the robots from PlayStation Showroom are back. In reality, I mean, I'll be honest, I think they designed those robots that they were supposed to be new mascots for the PlayStation. And then when that happened with Showroom, Sony was like, oh, fuck, we gotta, like, people are scarred emotionally. We gotta scrap this from everyone's memories. And so they never did anything in the entire life cycle of the PlayStation 4. They never did anything with those robots ever again. Okay? Well, guess what? Those robots are back for a new game called Astro's Playroom. And what it looks is like it's going to be an action platformer. And I hate to say it, it kind of looks like the Sackboy platformer that we already saw during the same presentation, except now it's basically all futuristic robots and stuff like that. But it definitely looks like that. It looks like it may have co-op in it, just like the Sackboy game. Will it be good? I don't know. It'll be a cutesy game for kids for sure. By the way, that game has no release date. Continuing on, there was a game that looked, to me, it looked like the art style of Samurai Jack. And it was a young man who used a sword, but also guns and other things to fight enemies, these creatures that were kind of cartoony. He's kind of cartoony as well. But there's some weird juxtaposition with an old man sitting inside of a town who's like sleeping and taking dumps. I'm not kidding. This is part of the actual trailer for the game. So it's not exactly clear what we're looking at or what the juxtaposition is between the old man and the young guy who's doing all the action and combat. The name of the game is Little Devil Inside. I swear it was going to be like a Samurai Jack prequel game, but it wasn't because it looks just like Samurai Jack. And it has no release date. NBA 2K21. It exists. Moving on. There's okay. I gotta prepare myself for this one. Are you guys ready? Okay. From the makers of Octodad, just to give you a frame of reference. There's a strawberry sitting on the ground. All of a sudden, the strawberry grows eyes. All of a sudden, the strawberry's leaves become legs. The strawberry starts to walk across the ground and says, strawberry, 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 strawberry. A walrus walks up, picks up the strawberry, eats it, and says, this is one of the living creatures on our island. As it eats the strawberry, the walrus's hand becomes a strawberry. You would think I was high, or, you know, this is some kind of like a fever-induced dream. This happened. You can watch it. It must be on the internet by now. This actually happened. So they continue on. All food is alive and moves like a bug, but talks the name of what it is. And there's animals on an island eating the food, and as they eat the living food, their appendages become the food. A dog's arm becomes a hot dog. You eat a hamburger, and your face is now a burger. The name of the game is Bug Snacks. And it has no... Oh, wait. This game does have a release date. It's coming out holiday 2020. I can't wait to play this game on my launch PS5. I mean, this is what I've been waiting for, guys. Continuing on. I forget the guy's name, and I apologize for this, but one of the top guys at Sony comes on the screen and basically says, this one's near and dear to my heart, so let's reveal it. Demon's Souls remake. They are remaking Demon's Souls. It was strongly rumored this was already happening, although most people speculated the game would actually be coming out for current-gen consoles. It looks like it's actually going to be coming out for next-gen consoles. Can't confirm that because it has no release date. Continuing on. Arcane Studios is making a new game. Alright, and this game, in the vein of, say, the visual style of Dishonored, has a very cartoony kind of visual style, but is very adult-oriented. It's a first-person combat and shooter game where there's a lot of gore and a lot of killing. Basically, the name of the game is Deathloop, and you star as a character who is on the run because everyone's out to kill him. His goal is to assassinate 8 targets in one night, but every time he gets killed by everyone who's after him, he can rewind back to a certain point and replay. So it's kind of like that whole Groundhog Day deal where you can resume from where a certain point and try to do it a different way and try to survive and move on. It seems pretty interesting. I don't know how good it will be, but it is from Arcane, which is a pretty solid game studio, and unlike Dishonored and other recent games they've done, it doesn't look like it's going to be all about looting shit, which is a big giant part of Dishonored and stuff like that. So it could be pretty good. You know, exactly, the live, die, repeat loop. And by the way, that game, it has no release date. None. No release date. Let's continue. Okay, so up next, a game that when the trailer starts playing, you can't hear a word anyone's saying. For some reason, the volume levels were completely off. And the frame rate of this presentation was terrible. It dipped to about 15 frames per second, so it was almost impossible to follow what was going on. But from what I could see, there were mutated people, mutated creatures, things coming out of the ground coming after you. It kind of, at first it looked like Blair Witch, but then it kind of looked like something else, and I didn't know what it was. Then it showed a guy with a big hat and dark glasses, and he takes it off and he's all pale. And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm getting a vibe. I hope it's not what it is, but then they revealed it. Village, Resident Evil 8. And then they show this giant mutated guy going, rah! And he kind of reminded me of the giant mutated guy from Resident Evil 4, the Las Plagas monster. And forgive me because I've completely forgotten his name at this point. It's been so long since I played the games. But it absolutely reminded me of that creature. And I'm like, I don't know anymore. Like, Resident Evil 7 was really good because it took a different direction, but at least it tied in to Resident Evil. Like, this game, I didn't see any zombies, I didn't see any Las Plagas, I didn't see any G-Virus, T-Virus, real G-Virus. The only tie-in that I saw that it really had to Resident Evil is because at the very end of it, it shows Chris Redfield. And he shoots a woman like multiple times and kills her. And apparently you're the main character, you're not Chris. And you're like, Chris, why are you doing that? Oh my god. And then he just ends. It's like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, I hope it's good. Here's how I compare it. When they showed the very first trailers for Resident Evil 7, it looked like it was going to be some kind of a hick family, you know, a hillbilly family in a house. And it didn't really show horror. It was more just like kind of almost like Rob Zombie-ish than anything else. But when you finally played the game, it was very much in the vein of Resident Evil. You had monsters and mutated zombies and things you were fighting constantly. And it really felt like a Resident Evil game. So I hope that this is a example. Yeah, it was Ethan and Mia. That's right. I think you were supposed to be playing Ethan, like the main character from Resident Evil 7. And Mia, if you remember, was one of the other characters from Resident Evil 7 who you had a choice, I believe, to save by the end. But Chris Redfield just shoots the fuck out of her. Okay? So, for me, I'm hoping that this is a case where the trailer is not a good representation of what the actual game is going to be. That maybe it just showed the cutscenes and the things, you know, and the gameplay will actually be a la Resident Evil 7, and it'll be a really good game. But I was just utterly confused at what I was seeing. I was like, is this Resident Evil? It didn't, to me, it didn't blow me away. Like Resident Evil 7 was a great game, but I don't know. It's just, I wanted something to say, this is Resident Evil. And to me, watching it, it's definitely going to be a horror game, but it didn't look like Resident Evil. Again, it kind of looked more like Rob Zombie than anything else. So, I don't know. I wasn't blown away. Some people said, oh, they're so excited for Resident Evil 8. But, oh, by the way, it's coming out in 2021, which we kind of knew, okay? The next game, I have no idea what it is. It's called Pragmata. It shows an astronaut, or a guy in an astronaut-style suit, walking in a major city that kind of looks like New York City or another major city. But everything's empty. The streets are empty. So he's, like, investigating and scanning. A girl shows up, a little blonde-haired girl, and she looks normal and fine. So why she's in the street in the middle of what appears to be an apocalypse, I have no idea. Then a holographic cat shows up that's almost see-through. You can see its veins and shit pulsating through it. No idea what that cat's supposed to be. He looks up, and the sky breaks open, and a satellite flies through. So the girl opens her eyes and uses some kind of crazy powers to propel them into the sky. The astronaut has a gun or something, fires it, creates a net that catches the fucking satellite. The satellite hits Earth, but then the girl, the guy, and the holographic cat are teleported to the moon, and they're standing on the moon looking down at Earth. Pragmata, coming in 2022. Okay then. Let's continue. At this point, people thought that we were getting near the end of the presentation, and indeed we were. Finally, a game that I think everyone was finally expecting to get some information about. We get information about Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is called Forbidden West, and the character who you had basically been helping the entire first game is now appears to be the villain, which we knew if you saw the end of the first game, he kind of becomes the villain at the end of the game, especially if you played the DLC. And it's interesting, you know, it looks like there's going to be more creatures, more robotic creatures we didn't see in the first game, like giant mammoths and stuff like that. The graphics look outstanding. So it looks great, and there's no release date for it. And then finally, they say there's a montage to kind of close the show of all these game devs who are working on games for PlayStation 5, and they literally say, oh, it's the best console ever. You're going to be able to have the best stories ever. You're going to be able to have the best thing ever. It's the best console ever, ever, ever. Kissing PlayStation 5. But their lips are so far up the sphincter hole of Sony during this. But I always say, when I want to know what's the next-gen console I should buy, the selling point for me is a montage of game devs kissing the console's butt. Not the games coming out for it, or the release dates of the games to coincide with the release of the console, but when a game dev just assures me that the console is good, I run out and buy it immediately. So that was a very useful part of the whole show. So anyway, then finally at the very end of this, by the way, it was about an hour and 15 minutes long, this presentation. We finally get some concrete information regarding the PlayStation 5. First, they show it, and I'm not going to show you a picture of it here. You can look it up yourself. To me, it looks like the console doesn't go flat because it's rounded on the sides. It's kind of, it is kind of almost a narrow rectangle, but it's rounded. The center of the console is black and has glowing blue lights. The outer levels or outer layers of it are white. So it looks kind of interesting. It matches that PlayStation 5 controller design we saw that's white on the edges and has the glowing blue light and black kind of touchpad on the middle. So it kind of matches it. But it looks weird. I'm going to admit it. It looks weird. And to me, it doesn't look like there's any way you can sit the console flat. To which I'm like, where am I going to put it? My entertainment center is 3 levels of flat. Every console I own can be laid flat. This one looks like it can't. Like, this one just stands up. So they're obviously trying to make it look futuristic or cool, but just space-wise, it's going to be annoying, I feel. I think the major big thing that they blew everyone away with, it's not just one console, there are 2 models. Now, we all speculated it was going to be, but one of the things that we had talked about in my pre-stream speculations actually came to fruition. There's one model that will have the 4K HD Blu-ray player. The other model is called Digital Edition and has no disc drive whatsoever. This is going to be huge. And the reason I speculate this will be huge, I am predicting at least a $100 price point, if not more, maybe a $150 price point difference between the 2 models. Because if you're someone like me, I don't need a 4K Blu-ray player. I don't care about owning physical copies of games. I want to get all games digitally at launch. That's what I've done for the last 4 to 5 years on my PS4. I don't care about the disc drive. I can save money right off the get-go by getting the one that doesn't have the drive in it. But what they did not clarify is if there were any other differences between the consoles. If I get the one without the disc drive, are you also going to basically give me a lower end hard drive, which I would say that's stupid. If anything, you need to have equal hard drives, especially if it's digital only, right? You still have to download the whole games. So yeah, you're trying to save money, but you still need the storage space, especially if it's all digital games. You know what I'm saying? So what I would hope is that they're not going to be doing differences between the consoles besides the disc drive. And let's face it, 4K HD Blu-ray play drives are cost between $100 to $150. So maybe they can lower the price point by $100 to $150, and everyone would probably go for the digital version unless they don't have good internet or they're one of those diehards who absolutely I want to own every disc. In which case, then you get the version that's the higher end version. So for me, I want to go for the lower end version. Seriously, I want to save the money. I want to blow money on something I'm never going to use. I've never once watched a Blu-ray movie on my PlayStation 4. So why did I spend money on the drive, right? So there you go. Now, they also showed off a few other things, okay? They have a headset that's a wireless headset for it that apparently will do the full 3D audio. So again, I have to ask, is this making all third-party headsets obsolete? If you just buy the name brand Sony wireless headset, will it do full-on 3D audio? You won't need cables anymore. And if it's so good it does full 3D audio right out of the box, you don't need anything else. So everyone, they might literally make everything else obsolete. If it's doing 3D audio from the get-go, you don't need to buy anything else. You see what I'm saying? Charging docks for the controllers, no shit. Like, that's always kind of existed, but there's going to be official Sony charging docks. And then also a remote control, because if you buy the version that has the Blu-ray player, you want to use it to control it to play your movies, right? You don't have to keep getting up or use a PlayStation controller. You want a nice, fancy remote control. And that was the presentation, all right? That was, like I said, it ran about, I'd say, an hour and 15 minutes, okay? So first of all, let's go through our list of what we had predicted would happen in this conference, and let's see where we were dead on correct, and let's see where we were wrong, okay? First of all, I predicted there would be 15 games presented. So I can count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. There were 27 games presented. Keep in mind, not all of them were groundbreaking. Oh my God, GTA 5 again. So they did a good job. They also ran a little late. So it is what it is. Some of the games had no information on what they were. Like, I have no fucking idea what some of the games were. So it is what it is. But they did present a lot of the games, okay? Horizon Zero Dawn 2, boom. Dead on. We were 100% correct on that one. They presented it. God of War 2, no show. So that's a disappointment. Spider-Man 2, yes, it's now called Spider-Man Miles Morales. Very nice. We got information about that, and it's coming out for the holiday, which is one of the biggest things, I think. If you buy PS5, you'll be playing the new Spider-Man game at launch. So that's huge, right? Crash Bandicoot, no show. Sly Cooper, no show. But you're going to see there was something that I feel was a replacement for those. Racing and driving game, we hit it right on the head, Gran Turismo 7. Was there a first-person shooter like Call of Duty Battlefield or something else? Not really. Although you can argue there were a few first-person games, like they showed Deathloop is a first-person shooter, but it's not a competitive online one. So in that case, I think we actually were wrong. It didn't show up. Fighting games were a 100% no-show. Not a single piece of fighting game was shown at all. That was actually a surprise to me. Godfall was there, so that was dead on. We predicted that, and it was there. Dying Light 2, no show. The PSVR, surprisingly enough, there was a no show. I can't believe it. I thought for sure there would be something about PSVR, seriously. But I guess not. So there you go. The new IP from the maker of Dead Space and or Shadow of Mordor, I guess it was in there. Was it maybe that really weird game Pragmata? Because the helmet kind of looked like the Dead Space helmet. Maybe. So I guess we were right, but I don't know what game it even was. Was there more information on the PS4 controller? Yes and no, not much additional, but at least they showed it off. PlayStation Now was a no-show. So in reality, we were only right half the time. We were right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We were 7 for 14. So we only had a 50% accuracy rate for what we were assuming was going to be there for sure. All right. Now, what did we not think was going to be there whatsoever? Ratchet and Clank. Wow. That was 100% fail. It was there. So that was there. But there was no Jak and Daxter. There was no Infamous. No Twisted Metal. Grand Theft Auto 6, I mean, I would say we were wrong about that because it was GTA 5. So 3 out of the 5 things we absolutely didn't think would be there were not there, but 2 were. So that's like what? 3 for 5 is a 60% accuracy rate? Okay, things that we said were maybes. Suda 51 was not there. There was no Batman game. There was no pricing info, nor was there a release date announced. No Hideo Kojima, and no Assassin's Creed. But one maybe did make it. A FromSoft title, but it wasn't what we thought. We thought maybe it would be Elden Ring, or maybe it would be Bloodborne, or nope, it was Demon's Souls remake, or remaster. So at least FromSoft, so that was only 1 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 for 6. Damn, that's really shitty. That's like what, like 16% or some shit like that. So that was really bad. We had tried to make speculation about the pricing or whatever. None of that matters because there was no pricing info and no release dates, okay? All right, so what was good and what was bad about this conference? First of all, I like conferences where it's all about the games. And even though we were craving hardware information, at least they did focus on games a lot, and you can kind of see, okay, some franchises seem like they're going to be returning. Some franchises will be continuing that we expected, but it's a good mix of that also with new game franchises like Godfall and stuff like that. I'll be honest, some people don't like the indie game stuff. I at least find it as a breath of fresh air because at least you know it's not just about big overhyped AAA titles. That's a good thing for me. Even though admittedly a lot of the games kind of look similar, at least there's going to be that indie kind of vibe, and not every game is going to cost you $60+ at launch. You know the indie games are usually sold for a more discounted price point, and there'll be variety in that. So I definitely liked that. I would say the most surprising positive for me in the whole show, looking at everything, right? The most shocking thing for me was Ratchet and Clank. I did not for one moment suspect that Ratchet and Clank was going to continue because both the Ratchet and Clank remake and the movie many years ago, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago now or longer, they flopped horribly. They did not make the money that Sony was hoping to make, and so I thought that was it. I thought Ratchet and Clank, they did their experiment trying to bring them back, and that was the end of it. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. They are going all in on these guys on trying to be kind of the family-friendly platforming game of the PS5. In my opinion, the game looked great. I was shocked at how good it looked. And I was certainly hoping that we would see something that was family-friendly. I thought maybe it would be Knack 3, it ended up being Ratchet and Clank. That really pleasantly surprised me. You want to know also what I really liked about the conference? There wasn't a lot of fluff. Like, every time there's a not a PlayStation, but anytime there's a press conference at all at E3, which is really what this was. This was Sony's replacement for E3, which didn't happen this year. You've got to have the Just Dance motherfuckers come out. You've got to have a 20-minute segment on shitty sports games you don't care about. They really didn't have that. It was more about the games and games that people actually were watching this conference for. Even though they did NBA 2K21, they didn't waste time on it. You know, it was just, here it is. It presented for a few minutes and they moved on. They didn't really waste time. And I really feel that that actually made it feel more presentable and more entertaining. In reality, I think a lot of people this year, because there's no E3, are saying this will be the year, the make or break year for E3. Since everyone's going to be doing their own conferences digitally, this will show, will this work? Did this Sony press conference digitally work? Yes, in my opinion, it did. This was positive evidence. We don't need an in-person stage with an in-person crowd with a bunch of media people there to cheer or scream. This was good enough. Like, this was a good presentation of what to expect coming up for the PlayStation 5 launch and beyond. And really, what was lost by not having the stage show, I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is it was an hour and 15 minutes long and it was nonstop information. There was no wasted time. And I felt like it was good because of that. We didn't have wasted time, people walking out, playing music, filler shit. Just keep me engaged and keep it moving smoothly. And that's exactly what this presentation did. And I feel that that was a huge positive. Okay. Of course, one of the big positives is learning more about the PS5. It's one of the basic things we wanted is more information. Now we know what the console looks like. We know there's 2 versions of it. We know there's full-on 3D audio from day one, and therefore you may not need to buy a headset separate to work with the thing anymore. That's all positive. That's all good. Okay? That's all positive stuff. Admittedly, now let's get to the negatives, because there were a few positives. Like, those are the positives about the show for me. Okay, what was the biggest game that I liked the most about the show? For me, I would say Spider-Man Miles Morales, which comes out in holiday, which means it's basically a launch title with PS5. Amazing. I can't wait to start playing that when I boot my PS5. Like, seriously, the first game was great, and I can't wait to start playing the next Spider-Man game. I'm super stoked for that. Okay? And I would definitely say Horizon Zero Dawn 2. That's great. To see Sackboy return in a really cool platformer, that's great. Ratchet and Clank, I was actually really positive on. I think the biggest surprise of the presentation, and it looked really, really solid. Oddworld coming back is good, for sure. Hitman 3, and Hitman 3 coming out in January. So again, you buy the console, only within 1 to 2 months, you're going to have another AAA big release that's a good one. That's really good for me. Okay? I guess I would say, you know, the new game from Arcane, this Deathloop could be good, could not be good. I don't know. I don't really want to judge it yet, but it looked pretty good to me. Okay, it looks like that might be a game I'm pretty interested in. Now let's talk about the what the fucks and the disappointments. GTA 5 again? What the fuck? Like, really again? And they opened the show with that? Like, I don't care. I played GTA 5 in 2013. It was a good new release. I played GTA Online at launch. I wasn't impressed. I went back to it when Heist released. I wasn't impressed. I'm still not impressed. It's a weird oddity for me that there's an entire group of so many thousands of people who've sunk so much money into GTA Online. In reality, what it is a social experiment. And it worked. The social experiment hooked people and kept people keeping playing it. But if anything, what came after that has proven that kind of Rockstar lucked out, because they tried to do the same exact thing with Red Dead Online 2, and it didn't work at all. No one cares about Red Dead Redemption 2 Online, and it's pretty much dead now. And that's why I think, oh, we got to milk it again, right? So we got to keep milking, keep reselling, keep milking. I'm blown away that people are going to buy, people are going to buy the fucking game again. And like, how many times can you buy the same fucking game? But you know they're going to, and that's just a what the fuck. You know what I mean? And someone just said it in the stream chat. They said, so now inevitably we're going to have Skyrim announced for PS5. Yes, we will. I 1,000,000% guarantee Skyrim will be ported to fucking PS5 now because GTA 5 is going on there too. Okay? Other what the fuck moments? I would say, hold on, because I know there were a few. Oh. Goodbye, Volcano High. I mean, I understand this is now the era of the hipster angst, teen angsty style game because Life is Strange succeeded, and now every indie studio thinks they can put out a game like that. I don't know about this one. Like, this one kind of seemed like a combination of, what was the game that I played years ago that people always wanted me to play? I didn't play, and then I finally played. That Anonymous really wanted me to play it. It was the game where you played as anthropomorphic animals, and it was the one where there was a cult out in the fucking woods and shit, and you discovered the cult. What the hell was the name of that game? I can't remember what the name of it was. I know you guys are going to tell me in a minute. But it seems like a combination of... Oh, Night in the Woods, yes. A combination of Night in the Woods and Life is Strange seems to be what this game is. And it's just so bizarre to me that there's people who want this. But again, I'm a 38-year-old man. I don't think I'm the target demographic for this kind of hipsterish fucking game. I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to buy it and play it or whatever, okay? Okay. Another a huge what the fuck moment was that weirdo game Bug Snacks. Like, what did I just see? Living food that you eat and becomes part of your body. What? Why not have a game about a living plunger that shoots spaghetti? And if you absorb the spaghetti into your body, you gain superpowers to fart marshmallows out of your ass, and you use that to defeat the evil invading army of the Mongols. I mean, you might as well. If you got a game that's called Bug Snacks, you might as well have that game too. Like, why not? Why? I'm lost. This is a game. This game exists, and they're making it, and it's going to come out. I just don't get it. I'm so lost. I can't believe that game exists. I was disappointed with Demon's Souls Remake only because, like, Demon's Souls you can still get, but they did dismantle the online component of it. So it's good that there'll be a new generation that'll be able to play it. But I really wanted more information on Elden Ring or Bloodborne or something else. And the fact that their focus is now a Demon's Souls Remake was pretty disappointing to me, admittedly. And for me, like, the biggest... Alright, those are the what the fuck things, alright? Like, what the fuck? Now let's talk about the biggest disappointments of this event, alright? I would say the biggest disappointments would be... I'm going through the list. Oh, Godfall. I'm sorry. Godfall just doesn't look good. It doesn't. Like, that's the first time I've seen the game in action, and it seriously gave me... It was just... It was oozing Rise vibes. Rise 2020. Godfall just looks like shit. It just looks like a game that they made it look good, but it's not going to be a great game. It's going to be basic combat, basic kind of... You probably played the game before 20 times, and it just is going to be one of those games that everyone's going to buy it because it's a launch title for PS5, and you'll play it once, and you'll say, why'd I waste my money, and you'll never play it again. But you know everyone's going to buy it because it's a launch title for PS5, and people are going to want new games to play. That's the vibe I'm getting. A mashy action game that's not very fun. Okay? And I would say Resident Evil 8 was pretty disappointing because really it didn't feel like I was watching Resident Evil at all. Okay, it just didn't. Like, it felt like it was a different franchise that they had turned it into. It didn't feel like this is Resident Evil anymore. And I hope I'm wrong. Again, I hope the vibe I got was because the volume was too low and the frame rate was choppy and they really tried to show off this oddball stuff rather than focusing in on what the core game will be. Because Resident Evil 7 was the same. When you watched the trailer for Resident Evil 7, you thought it's going to be a bunch of hicks in the woods, and it didn't seem like Resident Evil, but then when you actually played the game, it was like Resident Evil. You're like, oh, this is good. Okay? So I hope I'm wrong. I actually want that game to be good, and I hope I'm mistaken. Okay? Also, a big disappointment, no pricing info, no release date info. Obviously it's not available for pre-order yet. They weren't ready to announce that yet. And that's disappointing. But for me, by far, the biggest disappointment of the PlayStation 5 reveal is that the vast majority of games that they showed off either had no release dates whatsoever or were far into the future. I'm sorry, but it looks like we still have not learned from history, and history is still destined to repeat itself. These companies push their new consoles and say, it's got a better hard drive, it's got this great new feature, it's got that great new feature. What games will I be playing on PlayStation 5 at launch? Okay, Spider-Man Miles Morales, good. Godfall, doesn't look good. And a couple of indie titles. That's it. That's what they showed me today. They have one game that's good at launch, Spider-Man. That's it. You'll be playing Spider-Man, and when you beat it, you'll beat it again to try to get the platinum, and you will sit and wait till January for Hitman 3, and then you'll sit and wait for, you see what I mean? Like, I'm so tired of these game console developers pushing the new hardware down our throat with no actual incentive to buy the console. Like, why do I want PS5 at launch? I will miss out on Spider-Man 2, and that's it. I won't miss out on anything else. So why am I rushing to buy this console at launch? And they do this every time. Right? They literally do this every time. So everyone will be hyped for the console, people will pre-order it, buy it, and then it'll sit around collecting dust for months, because I guarantee you at launch there'll be ports of games. They'll probably port some games you've already played on PlayStation 4. But you're not going to have these groundbreaking, amazing, I must buy at launch games. You got Godfall, you know? And that ain't doing it for me, you know? Now, some people may argue that some of the games they said were going to be launch games are good. You know, there weren't that many. Okay, let's actually go through it. Spider-Man, Miles Morales. That's a launch game, okay? I actually want to hammer this down. Jet the Far Shore, the game that we have no idea what it is, that weird indie game. That's holiday 2020. Godfall, holiday 2020. That's it. That's it. That's what you're playing on your PlayStation 5 at launch. That's a big disappointment for me. This was the time to say, this is why you need to get ready to pre-order this right now. Here's the game. There's no other games. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. So, to me, there were some really good things in there, but I'm not sold on PlayStation 5. Now, more than ever, I'm actually curious about Xbox. Xbox now is going to go second. They're going to do their press conference, more than likely, I would guarantee, within the next 2 weeks, because they want to strike when the iron's hot. Everyone's talking about PS5, PS5, PS5. They're going to let that be hyped for a week or two. They're going to let that die down, and then Xbox is going to step up. All right? And Xbox is going to do their thing. If Xbox comes out and says, out of the gate, you're going to have 7 AAA titles ready to launch, you're going to want it at launch, they're going to win this. Like, they're going to get more people to buy their console because it's all about the games. And this presentation did not sell me at all. All right? Now, I'm only basing this opinion on this presentation. There very well in the next day to weeks, maybe more announcements from other studios. Keep in mind, this was supposed to be E3 week. This is supposed to be the week when Ubisoft, Bethesda, they all did their conferences. And, you know, right now, none of that. So maybe within the next 1 to 2 weeks, this will happen. And maybe Bethesda will come out and say, guess what? We got this really awesome game for PS5. And maybe Ubisoft will come out and say, guess what? The new Assassin's Creed game is a launch title for PS5. And if that's the case, okay, fair enough. But for me, this press conference didn't do it. The only game that sold me was Spider-Man 2 that's coming out at launch. And I definitely want the console for that. I do. But outside of that, I don't want my console sitting around till January to play Hitman and then sitting around for another 5 months for the next game. I want stuff to play, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be stuff to play based off what they said in this presentation. Okay, guys? All right, are you guys ready? Let's do shout-outs, because we got a lot of people who contributed, and I want to give everyone a fair shake here. I've been talking now for 50 minutes, okay? So, Sniper Dis did a 100-bit cheer. Thank you, Sniper Dis. Ornice cheered and said, "Didn't I say it? Ratchet and Clank is the one. Ratchet and Clank. I was the only one who believed that it would be coming back." So there you go. Apparently there was a hype train. RPG fan had cheered to get on that. Ninstar Rune said, "This thing looks like some of the games are PS3 graphics." Captain Charisma tipped $1. Says, "Someone who owned both consoles this gen. I hate the wars fanboys do each time. I wish someone would grow up. Remember, like what you like and don't be a dick." And I agree there. I do agree there that it's not that big of a deal. And if someone likes one console, you don't have to hate on them for liking the other. It's just very immature shit, but people have to do it because they're immature. Shenanigan asked, what console will I be getting? Or, excuse me, which version of the PS5 will I be getting? I'm leaning very strongly towards the digital. I don't think I need a disc. I'm not going to be watching movies on this thing. It's only for gaming. So as long as it's the same specs as the one with the disc, I'm probably getting the digital one and saving some money. Let's see here. Xbox One is garbage. Should be $1.30. He says, how is GTA 5 in the top sold every week? Who hasn't bought GTA 5 yet? It's been like 7 years. Don't ask me. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't understand it. You're as confused as I am. 672 resubscribed for 3 months. Thank you, 672, for a 3-month resub. Kubi Contract gifted a sub to 2 salads. Congratulations, 2 salads. And thank you for the support, Kubi Contract. CJ Euphoria resubscribed for 44 months. Thank you, CJ Euphoria, for the 44-month resub. Dr. Geezy resubscribed for 2 months. Thank you very much for that, Doctor. Eternal Napalm did a 100-bit cheer and says, Horizon Forbidden West has me excited. A big shout out to Kina, Bridge of Spirits as well. I got a huge Zelda vibes from it, and it looks charming. It looked pretty good to me. I just wish that, number 1, we had information about it. And number 2, it did look a little unpolished, but it's still in development. Portal 2 took me $1.30 and says, oh, you know what? He's just an asshole. Just ignoring it. He's trying to derail my stream. Chipe did a 100-bit cheer and said sniper rifles. Okay. Ethan and Mia took me $1.30. Says, have you considered growing an actual goatee? No, I refuse to grow a goatee. Ornights cheered and said Capcom are developers behind Pragmata. Oh, are they? I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that. Interesting. So what was the game that's from the developer of Dead Space and Shadow of Mordor? What game was it? Because I didn't even know what it was. Silly Sammy Slick did a 100-bit cheer. He says, I sound disappointed about the whole thing. Hold on. Book up. I'm sure the console generation will be great. I hope. We're not going to know, though. Gerard Crow cheered. He said, I think you forgot to mention Oddworld and Demon's Souls. Nope, I mentioned both of them. Timbo Slice cheered and said, Xbox One already allows you to take non-surround sound headsets and turn it into surround sound with Windows surround sound feature on the system. This is not new tech in PS5. Okay, fair enough. Samson tipped me $2. The PS5 will be available to lay flat. The stand can be connected under where the disc drive is. So it can be flat. All right, as long as it can be flat, because to me, like, I'm sorry, I don't have room for these crazy-ass towers. You know, I already have an entertainment center that's been working for me for 10 years. I don't want to buy a new one because I have nowhere to put the damn thing. RPG fan cheered and said, what if at some papadillas he grew them as his... Oh, what if I ate papadillas and they became my arms? That's disturbing. I don't want to think about that, just the grease alone. Sonic Fighter cheered and said, when I saw the Resident Evil trailer, I thought it was the Order 1886 sequel. I was hoping for the new Batman info. Yeah, I'm telling you, that Resident Evil Village didn't look like Resident Evil whatsoever. Not in 1 second of it did I think this is Resident Evil. And then it said Village, Resident Evil 8. And I was like, wow, that was very, very deflating because it didn't feel like the series to me at all. Now Gerard Crow cheered and says, no, Phil, you will only play Spider-Man and then wait till January because you only play AAA games. Other people will happily play the smaller titles. Fair enough, and I might play the smaller titles. My point is that from what they showed today, there's not a lot of them. 4 games at launch is what they show. 4 games. 2 Frogs, 1 Lean cheered and said, do you think PlayStation's solid shit drive is going to be enough to play these games above 20 frames per second? I have no idea. I don't know the ins and outs of the technology. Chief Seattle cheered and says, Phil does things differently. While others... Oh, here we go. He's basically trying to insult me. So he insulted me on the stream live. Don't you love it when I'm trying to do a nice stream and you got to have these idiots? Well, that's sadly what you got to go through when you're doing a live stream. You got to go through more moronic shit like that. Furious Kirk here, he says, everything rumored about Resident Evil 8 was confirmed, so we expected this. It was originally going to be Revelations 3, but they retooled it because it tested well. They didn't want a big gap between 7 and 8. I still want Revelations 3, though, too. Okay. Ninstar Rune here, he says, welcome to the island of butt sex. AWC Great took me $5. It said, if a new Oddworld game is coming out, would it make sense to go back and play one of the old ones? Well, I played, if you remember, early on in the life cycle of the PS4, they did Oddworld Remastered, and I played that. And I actually really liked the game, although it was challenging as hell. I actually did enjoy the game. Would I go back and play another one? Unless they remade another one since then, I doubt it. I don't even know if you'd be able to play them on the modern consoles, right? I don't know. Yeah, Oddworld New and Tasty. That was the name of it. That was a fun game. Lego Mario tipped me $1. Says, can't wait to see your midnight release stream of Bug Snacks. I know. Everyone is dying for... You know what? Here's what's going to happen. Alright, my PlayStation 5 is going to arrive. Now, if I get the digital-only version, that means I need to download all the games. Right? So I'll immediately purchase and start downloading games. But the first game I'm going to play on it has to be Bug Snacks. I mean, Spider-Man, we could wait for that. You know, Godfall, you know... The gods, they're going to have to be patient. I got to start fucking eating bug snacks constantly, immediately. Timbo Slice Cheers, Ubisoft announced the next Assassin's Creed is a launch title for next-gen PS5 and Xbox. So there you go. Lowe's won Timmy $1.30 and says, I love your Dark Souls playthroughs. F the haters, we don't care about a wrestling game. Alright, fair enough. Joe Red Timmy $1.30 says, hey man, I'm sorry about what went down. I'm trying to protect my family. I hope you understand. What the fuck is this about? Joe Red, I think you might have the wrong person. I have no idea who the fuck you are. Dr. Gizzy did 100-bit cheers, and my girlfriend says she wants to give you a big hug for some reason. There you go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell. Fuck. In a nutshell. Fuck. No. In a nutshell. We were dead wrong about most of the stuff at the PlayStation 5 event. I thought was predicting a lot of stuff. It was a very unpredictable event. All right. But basically, the way I feel is this did not do a good job of selling me on buying the PlayStation 5. What you showed me was a bunch of games that are probably 1 to 2 years into development before their release. And quite frankly, the games that they showed that are actually coming out at launch is not enough to sell me on the console. I'm not saying that the games look bad. I'm just saying they could have done a much better job here and they failed to. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very expectant of the Xbox, Series X, whatever the fuck they want to call their new console, that they will have a press conference within 1 to 2 weeks that will do very similar to what Sony just did. And if they can show you concretely 5 to 7 games that are Xbox exclusives to play on their console at launch, they've got me sold that that's going to be the better console, at least at launch, okay? So I basically feel that this was underwhelming, although admittedly, the highlights like Spider-Man and Horizon and Hitman, those were good highlights that are good. The whole thing was kind of deflating. I was expecting much more. No God of War 2, no kind of new thing with a new Crash Bandicoot or a Sly Cooper. That's like big gaps. Those all could have been buy it at launch, here's why. And they didn't do that. So for me, it's kind of disappointing. Vincent, to me, $1 says, at 200 stick will I wear a costume with face paint? No. All right. At this point, guys, I think we have talked enough about the PlayStation conference. I want to say thanks to everyone who, first of all, watched that prediction stream. I really enjoyed that. And thanks to everyone who tuned in for the actual conference live. And thanks to those of you who attended this post-stream recap reactions event. I hope you enjoyed it. And if there are other things coming up, like I said, with Bethesda or EA or Ubisoft or Microsoft or Nintendo or whoever it may be, I'll kind of try to cover them just like I did with this one, as if this were E3. And I hope that you enjoyed the show. Thank you for the support during this event. It went really well. And I'm looking forward to the future of gaming. Thank you guys very much for everything. See you later.